It was another day at Camp Cretaceous, and the campers were feeling restless. Their scheduled zipline adventure for the day had been canceled due to unforeseen weather conditions, namely, a relentless rainstorm that seemed destined to devolve into thunder and lightning at any moment. Despite futile attempts to keep themselves entertained indoors, everyone was miserable. Their counselors Dave and Roxy came in to check on them at one point to confirm that they would in fact be staying put for the day. While a poncho could protect them from the rain, it wouldn't protect them from the possibility that a stray lightning bolt might decide to strike the zipline mid-excursion. Just before Dave and Roxy departed, the kids caught wind of some incoming ranger communication over the walkie-talkies.
Alert! We have an asset that needs immediate attention. A Stegosaurus is injured on the other side of the island. Roxy, Dave, are you able to assist with this situation?
Roxy replied immediately, saying,
"Copy that. Unfortunately, we can't provide backup at this time as we're en route to meet Miss Deering."
Before hurriedly heading out of the door in an attempt to brief Claire on some recent safety concerns that had arisen in the park. Darius perked up immediately.
"Did you hear that?"
he asked hurriedly.
"We have to figure out how to do something."
Ben instantly objected, exclaiming,
"Oh, no, we don't. If even Dave and Roxy aren't going, then there's certainly nothing we can do. Besides, how are we even supposed to figure out where they are?"
Unfortunately for Ben, he was quickly outnumbered, and the rest of the campers were quick to brainstorm the most effective transportation method when Kenji piped up.
"We may not be able to zipline from the observation tower, but that doesn't mean we can't climb up there and get a vantage point. We'll go up there just long enough to figure out where they are, and we can develop our plan of action from there."
Normally, this might have taken more convincing, but the collective restlessness plus the knowledge that it was a relatively harmless Stegosaurus removed the group's hesitation. Even Ben was on board. The prospect of facing the thunder alone and potentially having to explain everyone's absence to Roxy if she returned suddenly wasn't much more appealing. Much to everyone's dismay, the path to the Stegosaurus wasn't quite as clear as they'd hoped. Despite their determination to peer deep into the canopies, none of them could say with certainty that they'd spotted the location where the rescue was taking place. Just as they were about to give up, Sammy called out.
"Look! Down there!"
Everyone's gaze followed her outstretched finger, which was pointing to two rangers who were running on foot, clearly in response to something frantic.
"Y'all, I bet they've been called as backup. They're sure to lead us right to that poor Stegosaurus. And what if that's not where they're headed?"
Ben objected, but to no avail. The rest of the group was already racing down the stairs even more quickly than they ascended, in an attempt to keep the Rangers' trail. Despite their best efforts, their tracking skills proved to be no match for what was now just shy of a torrential downpour. Any semblance of footprints was quickly erased as the dirt beneath them transformed into mud. Between that and the consistent thunder which drowned out any voices that would normally serve as guidance, the group quickly realized they were lost. In what seemed to most certainly be a definitive sign that it was time to turn back, their progress was suddenly curtailed by a tree branch that had been struck down by lightning disturbingly nearby. As the sun continued its descent and panic began setting in, the group became increasingly nervous. Initially, their fears were centered around the possibility that Dave and Roxy would beat them back to camp and their defiant exploits would be revealed. But the stakes immediately raised as they heard an ominous roar in the distance between thunder breaks. The group looked at one another fearfully. What kind of dinosaur was that?" Kenji asked Darius somewhat frantically. For the first time, Darius was stumped. With the gravity of the situation now undeniable, Brooklyn noticed a black van driving towards them.
"That's an Asset Containment Unit transport. Those rangers were probably out on this rescue mission, and if we flag them down, they can take us back to camp."
Everyone began waving frantically, desperate to secure this sure effort at returning to the warmth of their cabin. To their relief, the van slowed to a stop and opened its doors to let the campers in. Exclaiming their gratitude, they explained their situation and convinced the rangers to give them a ride back to their cabin. Sheepishly, Ben asked,
You're not gonna tell our counselors, are you?"
With uncanny timing, a walkie-talkie chirped, and Roxy's voice came through loud and clear.
"Don't worry,"
she said.
"they won't have to."